So if you've followed my channel for some time now, you've known that wilderness exploration is at the heart of it. Whether it be backpacking, straight up camping, or overlanding with the Jeep, just getting out into wilderness and exploring it is pretty awesome. Well, of course that's going to rub off on my son. My son's graduating from high school and he's looking to have a summer of traveling around mountain biking. What better way to do that than to build out a van? And it just so happened his eccentric uncle happened to have a van sitting in the back of his garage for many years. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce you to Milo the Astro Van. Yep, a 2000 silver Astro van. My brother doesn't do things like normal people. He actually had this van up on casters in the back of his garage sideways. So first, we had to get this thing out, and it took a little muscle and grunting to make that happen.
Still clear! Alright, you want me to come back now?
This small series of videos is going to focus on building out Milo. This video is going to be focused on gutting it and putting in the insulated floor. From there, we'll build out the walls, and we'll also build out a sweet little bed setup. But before we got into all that, like I said, Milo's been sitting in a garage for many years, so he needed a full brake job. And of course, my son wanted to bling out the rims a little bit with some Plasti Dip, making it look like a van B.A. Baracus would be proud to drive. So we dove right into gutting the van. Now we took out the side panels and the carpet, and man was it nasty. So it was good that we tore all that out. We really debated keeping the original floor in, but when it came down to it, the way he wanted to use it with mountain biking and camping, he wanted a vinyl floor that was easy to clean up. Tore the old carpet and insulation out, we kept that as a template. We tore out the carpet, we realized that we had some rust spots. We cleaned those up, primed them, and painted them. I didn't get any footage of that, but that was good experience for my son to learn to repair a metal floor. So once we cleaned it out, we got ourselves some sound deadening mats. These are the Noiko 80mm off of Amazon. I'll put a link down below if you're interested in getting it. We were able to cut them up. They have a nice adhesive back. Spread them out all the way through the different ridges of the floor and as well as on the walls. Next is the biggest tip I can give you when you're building out a van. Template, template, template. Templates are just the best way to get the right cuts and shapes for something like a van that's got all these different angles. So we made this big blue paper template off the original carpet. Boy, that was nasty. Was glad to get that out of my garage and in the garbage. Now we went with a 1/2-inch foam board with an R value of 3. That will give us enough insulation from the bottom. We could have went thicker, but my son's a tall guy and we didn't want to sacrifice any more height in this little van. We decided not to use any type of adhesive between the foam and the metal floor. Once we had the foam and the wood placed, we were going to screw through the wood all the way to the metal flooring. We're about to put in our first piece of wood. One thing I want to tell you is always put down a piece of wood before you step on this, because you will go in between the seams if you haven't filled them with much. So Ian, go for it. Let's see if we can get our first piece to match in.
Let's see. Get it first try.
Yeah, we had to cut through the seat belt over there, but this is our first fitting. Ooh,
That's pretty
nice.
Good. That's pretty close.
So we decided to do the seam over here and then most of the wood over here, because this is going to be kind of like the cot bedside, so the seam isn't going to be as critical over here. Plus we put the seam of the foam over here so that way they're in opposite sides. Using the template, the wood was pretty easy to put down, just like the foam board. Once we got the wood down, we screwed it all the way around the edges through the metal floor. Didn't get any footage of that, but basically you do want to go underneath to make sure you're not screwing through anything really important, and also caulk the screws from the bottom. Next, we were really excited because we were actually putting down the vinyl floor, the final piece. Now this is an adhesive back vinyl planking that is in like a driftwood color, which is great because it kind of has a gray and a brown. Thought it would look really good with it, and it really, really does. The thing you need to know about vinyl planking though is that depending on the temperature that you put that in, it's going to shrink and expand. So we put it in kind of a warm day, and we are getting some gapping, so we're probably going to have to adjust a couple of those. The final touch was routering around the floors around the holes for the front seat. My son wanted to keep those holes there just in case he wanted to put the back seat back in to be able to drive friends around. But the cool thing is we ended up making some plugs for those so that it's nice and flat all the way through. Next was finishing off the edges around the door. This was really important because otherwise you see the foam. This is basically an aluminum strip that goes on the edge of a step. Worked out really nice, cut up pretty easy. So this was a lot of work just to get this thing out of the garage, cleaned out, and the floor in. So hopefully you're finding this mini van build series useful and somewhat interesting. So you don't miss the other videos, go ahead and hit subscribe, because next week we're going to be putting up the walls. And then after that, the bed. I'm super psyched about building this bed.
Got a little bit, right?